Rwandan President Paul Kagame is defending China's investments in Africa, saying the Chinese are developing the continent while Western companies spread pollution. Mr. Kagame says China gives African countries the investment they need, helping to build infrastructure and roads. He says that in contrast, Western firms have polluted Africa, such as the dumping of toxic waste in Ivory Coast and garbage in Somalia. China has poured billions of dollars into Africa over the past decade as it seeks raw materials and markets for its economy. Human rights groups say Beijing has ignored human rights issues in dealing with countries like Sudan, a major Chinese oil supplier. President Kagame says he would prefer Western countries to invest in Africa rather than handing out development aid.
Now here with more on China's budding relationship with Africa is VOA's Philip Alexiou.
China, a country of 1.3 billion people, with economic growth typically about 8% a year, is about to become Africa's #1 trading partner. China's annual two-way trade with Africa now totals more than $100 billion, about the same as the U.S. trade balance with the continent.
I think most of the reason for this significant increase in the relationship is simply due to the fact that Africa has resources that China needs, and it's a made-to-order trade relationship.
Africa is a continent rich in resources such as oil, copper, diamonds, and iron ore, minerals and energy resources to help fuel China's accelerating economic engine. The world's fastest-growing economy has increased its trade in Africa tenfold. In 2000, China's bilateral trade with Africa was $10 billion, and by the end of 2008, it was over $100 billion. Africa's economy has been growing at a steady rate at close to 6% a year for the past 5 years, though the global recession cut the continent's growth in half in 2009.
China actually has a trade deficit with Africa because of these huge imports of oil and minerals from a small number of countries, yet they have very extensive exports to certain African countries and hence have a very significant trade surplus with those countries that don't have minerals or oil.
Wenran Zhang visits Africa frequently and says many Chinese companies that operate there long-term will come to hire Africans.
As a part of the learning curve, we see more and more Chinese enterprises in Africa today employing about 80% of the local workforce.
Not only Chinese state-run enterprises see opportunity in Africa, there are plenty of private Chinese entrepreneurs, ordinary people investing their own money to open a small business.
We're talking about people who have several $1,000s. They would go to Africa to set up in the supermarket a selling slot, importing containers from China, pay local tax, employ small number of local people, and selling goods.
China has an official policy of not interfering in other countries' internal affairs. So does that give China an advantage, or is it a liability for Africa? For that answer, we're here at Howard University.
By saying they don't interfere, they don't mind interfering on behalf of dictators like Omar Bashir of Sudan and Mugabe. When they interfere in terms of supplying arms, they have $7 billion worth of arms to Angola and to Sudan. So they say they're interfering, they're just interfering in the ways that are of benefits to them.
But there are also issues, on the other hand, of competition, of Chinese manufacturing goods, low-cost Chinese goods flooding African markets, even in the street corners. That actually does happen as well.
The global recession has slowed things down this year, but analysts agree what we're seeing today is just the beginning of China's growing influence on the African continent. I'm Philip Alexiou, VOA News.